first going to go to the PESTEL,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say again, the AI is going to say, right, we now know that first little sentence you typed in describing it. We also know your complete business model canvas, and we also know your strengths and weaknesses, although I've only put in 2, but let's imagine you put in more. So I said, based on all of that, tell me, do some PESTEL analysis.
Chris, click the Ask StratNavApp up at the top right-hand corner there. And just a bit of disclosure here, PESTEL there are more acronyms in strategy than there are in the airline business, and I know. And so for those who aren't used to, don't worry about these. They've all got a reason, and they're all easy to remember. And you don't have to memorize them. It's just to help you. PESTEL stands for political. It's at the top of the boxes. Political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal threats, consequences, considerations for your organization or your business. Again, it's another matrix that some genius has come up with that allows us to put stuff into the right box that's going to have a material effect on the functioning, operation, and potential success of the organization or business.
And so, Barry, you're absolutely right. And thank you for pausing me. Now, I get so used to this stuff that sometimes I click on through and it all makes perfect sense. So thanks for pulling me up on that. Again, if you don't know what a PESTEL is, you can hover over each of these things and it'll help you out. There's also a how to do PESTEL analysis and some examples of PESTEL analysis in the help. And of course, you can go down and ask the chatbot AI here.
So that question mark, that help there, Chris, is basically contextual. It'll give you context sensitive help. It knows that we're in PESTEL, so it's defaulting, which is actually hugely helpful.
It knows you're on the PESTEL page, so it's saying you probably want to know about how to do it or some examples of it, or you can see that there's some other related articles as well here. There's some
folks, this is, again, I'm almost a daily user, literally daily user, not out of interest, but out of commercial and professional need. And I'm learning stuff as we're going through this as well. I'm seeing stuff for the first time. So this is really very useful, Chris. So thank you.
Now, the reason I wanted to do this, to come to the PESTEL before we started adding opportunities and threats directly onto the SWOT, there's a couple of reasons. So the first one is that the PESTEL analysis will often cause you to think about things that you wouldn't have thought of. So if I'm starting a bike shop, I might not be thinking about the political ramifications, but you'll see the AI, because it doesn't have some of the biases or blind spots we do, and because it's been programmed with these specific frameworks, which we know to be good for doing strategy, it's been able to come up. So you'd suggested, well, what about government incentives? It's thought of that, right? It's thought about government incentives for cycling because it knows from the context that we've given, it knows we're in the Surrey foothills, it knows that government incentives for cycling are a real thing, and so it suggested it, whereas you might not have thought about it. It's also thought about, for example, under the technology thing, about e-bikes. Again, something I might not necessarily have thought about, but it suggested that e-bikes, it suggested they're an opportunity. You may decide they're a threat because you don't want to sell e-bikes. So you may decide actually e-bikes could be a threat.
Or
so you have to decide.
Wrong market demographics, for example.
Yeah. So you still need to evaluate it. But it's flagged all of these things up that you probably want to think about in setting up your strategy. And again, you can go through and add, I won't do it now just for the sake of time, but you can click on any of these. It'll give you some more context and some more detail behind them, and you can edit them.
Click on one, Chris. Let's have a quick click on one and to show us what it looks like.
I thought it was going to have filled something in the description, but it actually hasn't here.
But is that a chatbot that's ready to do it just above the description?
Good shout. There's a StratBot over here, and I can click it, and it will hopefully... Yeah, it will hopefully come up with some context here. Now, again, it's asking the AI to talk about e-bikes within the context of everything we've done before. So within the context of our business model canvas, within the context of what we've put on the SWOT, etc. And it's come up with a reasonable
Right.
I'll just go through it quite slowly so that you can see what
So
it's saying
another
there.
real time moment, folks. I hope you saw that. Rewind it if you didn't.
Yeah.
It was a genuine moment.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it's come up with some quite interesting stuff about e-bikes, which I might not have thought about. And it's done it in, as AI normally does, quite an holistic manner.
And looking at this, if you went through the entire PESTEL analysis, and folks, don't worry about PESTEL, what PESTEL means, you can go back and check it again but it's political, economic, social, technology, etc. You could go through each of those, press the StratBot, it will go and put that all together. You can review it, and then when you hit the reports, which is further down, reports and Strat ML down there, it will come out on the full strategy report, correct?
Correct. That's right. With
Amazing,
all
isn't
of
it?
this
I mean,
information supporting it, so that you've got a full report of everything. Yeah.
okay.
You'll see as well, in addition to this textual information which is generated, it's also got some additional things that you can say about that. So just a few that I'll highlight. You can decide how much of an impact you think this is likely to have. So you may decide, look, yeah, we could have e-bikes, but our market, I don't think that's really for them. So it's likely to
So
have a
our
low
viewers may not have
impact.
seen that. Chris is, if you just look below the green positive and the white negative buttons, the white negative button actually would be red ordinarily. There's a slider that determines how much impact this has got, and there's another one about the certainty of the outcome, whether you're pretty certain, not very certain, and then the sliders are up there.
And then that's exactly right, Barry. So I can say, look, I think e-bikes are going to have a significant impact on this market, and I'm very sure that that's going to happen. Or I could say, well, they could have a significant impact on the market, but I'm not sure that they really, if they do have an impact, it'll be big, but I'm not sure that they really would. I think our market will mostly ignore them. So you can, those are, again, value judgments. And again, if you're talking to people in the industry or talking to your advisors, you can be debating, how certain do you think that is? So, and that will come in useful later in the system as well, because the system then is able to factor that evaluation into whatever it does next.
Right.
So it does that. It has so it's now come up with, or you filled in, because you could have done this manually rather than rely on the AI or a combination of the two. It's filled these in, and you'll start to see much more of these little colored dots here. So you'll see it's identified that government incentives for cycling with a little green dots. It says, well, we think that's an opportunity.
Which I tend to agree with.
Which you would tend to agree with, right?
Yeah.
Whereas down here it said, well, potential import tariffs as a result of Brexit could increase the cost of bike parts. Now, again, you can agree with that or not. It's identified that and said that seems like it could be a threat for your business. Again, that's not implausible. You might say, yeah, absolutely, I think that's right, or you might decide you want to edit.
And Chris, just from the PESTEL or PESTEL, you can have the E and the L's transposed. The 5 forces, the Porter's 5 forces. If we click on that, that's basically Michael Porter's famous 5 forces that determine basically the competitive advantages and threats that surround a business or an organization. So that's already got some stuff populated in from the PESTEL, isn't it?
It has pulled some stuff in from the PESTEL, and again, you'd have to decide whether you think it's pulled it in correctly, and you could either remove it from this analysis or you could just drag and drop it somewhere else. So I'm just trying to think if there's one I think that's obviously in the wrong places. Not necessarily. It's put them all in the customer perspective, which it tends to do. There's a slightly frustrating technical reason why it does that, because the AI learns from the environment, and this is how most people tend to look at the world, and so it's learned that. Hopefully, over time, it will learn a more balanced
you can just if it's as you've said, that sort of the overriding caveat and all of this is always check the AI's work. It's there as an assistant, not as the thing to generate a strategy, although it seems to be doing a pretty good job to me. But it's there kind of as your helpful friend. and therefore fallible friend. And I think that it is the lesson of AI, isn't it? It's fallible, therefore check it. And so you can track it. Let's assume that government incentives to cycling was it was something that would might increase the threat of substitutes. You just drag it up.
Well,
There's
actually,
how it works.
what it might actually do is increase the threat of new entrants, right? If all of a sudden
Right,
there's
got it.
incentives
Yep.
come down. But I can also go into it, edit it, and put it threat of new entrants here. So I can
Okay.
select it from there as well as by dragging and dropping, and it will now have placed it down here. So I can adjust. Yeah, I can say I think that's actually going to increase the probability of other.
Actually, that's really
bike
useful
shops
to see.
opening in the area.
If for any reason that you can't, the drag and drop doesn't work. Equally, it's easy enough to just go into the card itself, as you did, and change its domain under the PESTEL. So useful to see. Thank you for that. And where do we go from here? Go back to SWOT.
So what I want to show you, it's now taken all of those things from the PESTEL and or 5 forces and pulled those back onto the SWOT, having classified each of them as opportunities or threats.
Yeah.
And so you can see there's lots of different ways of building up each of the models. So we could, parts of the SWOT we could have built up from the business model canvas, parts of it we could have built up from the PESTEL. Things we added onto the SWOT might also affect the PESTEL or the 5 forces. And the system is working to keep this holistic picture always integrated.